Is 2-0 also the most dangerous series lead, or has Toronto turned over a new leaf? Hand down, caps down. The Hurricanes continue to put up NBA perimeter shooting numbers. Are they the team to fear in the East? Good players score in threes. At least Mikko Rantanen does. As Dallas, they take a win out of Winnipeg. Don't call it a comeback, because the Oilers, they got the first win this time versus the Golden Knights. But how many wins will they be leaving the casino with? And finally, we talk about each team's most important player. From downtown Toronto, it's the BarDown Podcast. Before dark. Or BarDown in the morning?
BarDown at dawn.
No.
We ride at dawn.
Yeah. I mean, it's not dawn.
We're supposed to be here at dawn.
No, I've got that. Yeah, dusk is the nighttime. You were supposed to be here at dawn. That's okay.
I really like hand down.
I like how you insulted the Hurricanes and then finished it off with, are they the team to beat in the East?
I didn't insult them. I was just, they take a lot of perimeter shots.
Shooting?
Yeah, they take
I don't think that's a compliment.
It's
Depends
factual.
what team you are.
You're not praising the style of hockey that they play.
If you're the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 1, then that's a diss. But if you're like the Golden State Warriors, it's probably a good one.
Exactly. Wow. You're right.
Well, Mark Jackson though, hand down, man down.
Hand down, mama. There goes
that man.
Whatever that means. But here we are. This is like, by the way, I mean this. This is the morning. Like, this is the first time we're doing this where it's not just like a live show. It's like semi-live because the homie Matt is on the switcher over here. Hello, Matt. This is like wearing today's newspaper. Because I could promise you, if Manchester United loses today, I would not be wearing this right now.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
They're playing later
What do you have,
today.
3 goals, though?
Well, we won't talk about it.
Seems incredibly safe.
Exactly. Yeah. We won't talk about it.
Jinxes in the air.
The
right?
Leafs of soccer.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Maybe not this year.
we're here to talk about the real Leafs and the lead that they've taken now in their second round series. Are you impressed? I was going to start out with, does this feel like a new team to you? Does this feel like the Berube Leafs versus what we've seen in the past? Were you expecting this? Because the Panthers themselves have been pretty complimentary. I think it was Brad Marchand who came out after the game and said they were ready. This does feel like a different team. But does it feel that way to you?
I was gonna say I feel like Brad Marchand's word counts a whole lot more than mine does because he's out on the ice playing them, and not only that, he's played 4 series against the Leafs. This is now the 5th one. We were talking about it yesterday, just how big of a point producer he's been against the Leafs. He's played 30 playoff games now. He's got 34 points against Toronto. The 4 series he's played, they've all gone 7 games, and he's won every single one. So the fact that he's down 2-0, both losses in Toronto, the crowd's really getting behind this team. And what's impressed me is, like, every time Florida scores, Toronto has always had an answer. They went down 1-0 yesterday and 2-1, and that 2-1 goal was from yours truly, Brad Marchand. It was 15 seconds into the second period. That's the type of, like, backbreaker goal that you surrender, and it's like, it's going to be hard to win this game. Your goalie's injured. And also, Austin Matthews has not been scoring, which has been a theme, in tough times that they face in the playoffs, and they're still finding ways to win games. So
he's been effective as well.
He has been effective
in the other things that you expect out of him.
I was talking with a couple of people yesterday about this. When I used to watch Austin Matthews, and a lot of people think he's injured right now and dealing with something, my knees used to tremble when this guy had the puck in the offensive zone.
Admitting this, okay.
It was a scary sight. When he had the puck on his stick, it just felt like he is going to score at any second, and he's just going to rip the puck. He had such a shot-first mentality, and he's still a very, very effective player. He still moves the puck very well, but I feel like he's not really looking for that shot a whole lot, and as a result, he's not scoring a ton of goals. So, long answer, but yeah, it kind of does feel like a different style of Leafs team. Max, did we say this on the last podcast, or have I just been preaching this to everyone?
Have we left this room in the last couple of weeks?
Max Pacioretty is a bigger Leaf legend than he is a Habs legend, potentially.
That's crazy.
This guy's scoring clutch goals. He had a series-winning goal.
One of the most ridiculous things you've ever said.
It's a very prisoner of the moment, like heated Habs fan take.
This guy had a McDonald's commercial with it. They don't just give regional ads out to people unless they've done some mighty fine work, okay? So put some respect on it.
No, I have a lot of respect for Max Pacioretty. A lot of respect.
It's going to take for the statue to be built here for him.
But he's scoring big goals for the Leafs. And that's the type of thing that they haven't had. Every time the Leafs have added a veteran, Nick Foligno, they brought him in at the deadline.
They gave away first.
Captain of the Blue Jackets. What did he do here?
Nothing.
Just called out Corey Berry in a press. To me, that's the most memorable moment. They bring in a guy like Pacioretty, scoring big goals, playing with Tavares and Nylander. It's just like, I guess it kind of feels different.
They made the right moves is what it feels like.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead, yeah.
it's a 2-0 series lead. You love the saying, the series doesn't start until someone drops the game at home.
I love that saying.
Florida's going back.
Never said I like that saying. People keep saying that.
I love that saying.
That's why I
personally.
said that you said you like it. I think Florida's going to make this a long-winded series because both of these games have been really close and exciting, and they've showed a lot of fight as well, despite being down 2-0.
Okay. Luca, this is your second team. Now your only team.
Yeah, I guess we haven't talked about that, which I don't want to talk about, quite frankly.
No? Okay. Well, Gorham, I forgot. Yeah, you guys haven't reacted at all. I mean, Jesse,
No.
he had his old elation. I mean, if you've been on Instagram or anywhere, I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard enough of that by now that you see how he feels, which makes sense. That's a crazy historical moment. But the Leafs for now for you.
Yeah, the Leafs are now for me. It does feel different. The irony, I think, in like a game like last night, maybe even some of the games against Ottawa, is kind of what you're saying, where it's like they're scoring timely goals this playoff run, where like in the past it was just like, oh yeah, they're gonna win the expected goals for battle every time, like they're outplaying people in the playoffs based on those metrics, but like actual goals aren't going in. And then you have a game like last night where they got throttled, I think, for the majority of that game, and especially in the third period as far as like chances that they were creating, whatever. But it just seems like this year and this team, they're so much more dialed in defensively, I would say. Like last night was against obviously a really good Florida team, and Florida had their chances, but throughout the playoff run, the theme has been like they are keeping teams to the outside. They're not allowing a ton of chances. The shots that are coming from the perimeter, and the rebounds are being cleared pretty easily, and whoever's in net is making that first save and covering up the puck, and like they're not letting teams get into the slot a lot. So that's been a key difference for them, I think, just their defensive structure, their defensive game plan, and even when they have a lead, and how they play with a lead as opposed to how they played with a lead in previous playoff iterations. Like it does feel like they are opting for a more defensive game and looking for a counterattack every now and then. And the line deployment has been very interesting too, where it's like Berube has been fine with putting that fourth line against the Kachuk line. And I don't know if that's going to go well the rest of the series, but like he is fine with putting these role players in a lot of these positions where I feel like there always has been more of a reliance on the top players, and rightfully so. They're the top players making the most money, but I think there's a lot more trust in the entire lineup as opposed to maybe in years past where it's just the trust in the top guys playing them 25 minutes a night to get it done, and it just hadn't worked out.
Yeah, like again, obviously still it's very early on.
Very early.
The home team won their 2 games, and the Panthers probably aren't going to be that worried, even though they are used to winning on the road. I think they won all 4 games, right? Or sorry, they won at against Tampa twice in this series.
Yeah.
Not 4. Didn't
I heard the series didn't start until like there's no point of even watching until like a team loses at home.
that?
So I think it was
that was me. Is that we're going to attribute that with me?
You don't
Okay.
need to bother watching any series
Yeah.
until a team loses at home. So
Put it on my grave.
you don't have to watch the next 2 games.
Put it on my grave. Hand down, man down. Don't watch series until the home team loses. Those 2 things.
That's playoffs.
That's playoff hockey right there. But it has been impressive. We don't have a dissenting opinion in the room for the Leafs to calm down. He's noticeably absent. We haven't said that yet. Jesse's away in, I think, Austria.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? He's at some kids' hockey tournament or something? I don't know.
I think he's at I think it's one of the largest like youth hockey tournaments in the world.
It's funny the way
I don't want
to.
to.
But it's fine.
That's
Being
some
factually,
kids hockey.
being factually accurate is also nice on you.
Yeah.
So thank
I
you.
like
It's
some
professional.
kids hockey tournament better.
It's like it was just some kid off the street. Jesse, could you come to my game? Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the Canes and Capitals. So there was a lot of shots in this game, and a lot of them were coming from one side. 33-14. That was the total in the end there, and it's nothing new for the Canes. That's what they do. They fire in a lot of shots. Some of them are high quality. Some of them aren't. They don't care. Just shoot volume. They haven't necessarily finished a lot of those chances. And that game went that way. It was only 2-1, and it took until overtime.
And how did they score? With a nice
Yeah, it was
little
a
perimeter shot.
Perimeter shot.
That's a little 3 from the point.
Yeah, with a nice little tip there. But, yeah. It's weird because it's not... I'm so sorry, Canes fans. I really am, because I know there are Hurricanes fans who watch this, and you're probably wondering, they don't even talk about my team. They're always ripping on my team. We're not here to rip. My team's not even in the playoffs. You can make fun of them all you want. His team, gone. His team, gone.
Have to bring up my team.
Didn't have to bring up mine either.
Because I haven't been ripping the
We
Canes.
are equal opportunity at making fun of each other. That's okay. It's not about that. That being said, come on now. Come on now. If you're just neutrally flipping through games,
You're not watching this.
it's not the first one on your list, neutrally speaking.
They're lucky that there are 2 games a night now only, and
'Cause
no
we're
overlapping start
Sure.
times.
I'm watching the game. I don't share the sentiment. I'm
Okay,
watching the game.
and that's okay, because it's still playoff hockey, and I still think that they're a good enough team. All of that being said, shots done now. This is all about compliments from here for the Canes. Hey, like, they haven't lost. They did lose 1 game to the Devils, but they haven't allowed a power play goal. Their defense has been just as good as advertised, and as much as I'm making fun of their offensive efforts, it works for them and has worked so far. How do you feel about them in the East? Because, I mean, they still got to wrap up this series, and I'm not saying that it's over by any means. Like, the Capitals still, like, losing a game at home.
Yeah.
We said it. That's tough.
It is
tough. It's tough to do. So, what do you think of the Canes?
I like them a lot, and I watched them a little bit in that Devils series. First of all, they navigated through some tough situations. Their goalie goes down. They won 2 games in double they won 1 game in double overtime. Another game went to double overtime. Like, as much as they won that series in 5 games, and it was the Devils, a team that, because they were missing Jack Hughes, a lot of people discounted coming in. Like, I think that was a tougher series than a lot of people realized. So I'm really into the Canes and the style of hockey that they play, defense first. Sure, we can laugh at it as boring or whatever, but they also have a ton of players on the offensive side that bring a lot of excitement and intrigue. Guys like Seth Jarvis. Sebastian Aho has been phenomenal in the playoffs. Someone who we've thought of as a really, really good player, but the one reaction we had when, it's crazy to say that these guys even had Rantanen at one point. It feels like I already forget that Rantanen played for the
Very
Hurricanes.
bizarre.
The one takeaway we had when they got Rantanen was like, finally they have that like A+ level player that can carry an offensive load, because Aho, I feel like a lot of the times we don't give him enough credit. But I think he is that player, and he's leading by example for this Hurricanes team. And when your best players are guys like Jacob Slavin, who are renowned as one of the best defensive players in hockey, sure, sometimes you're going to play in these low-scoring battles that maybe they don't bring the excitement of Oilers and Kings where there's 11 goals every game, but it works for them, and I think they're doing a great job, and they look like one of the best teams in the league right now.
They are doing a great job. My worry for them has always just been scoring, obviously. Like, in a 2-1 game is, I guess, the perfect example of that and, like, how that goes in. And they've played the 2 perfect opponents, I think, for scoring in general, where it's like, you don't feel like they're going to be chasing against the Devils because, like, they didn't have Jack Hughes and their best offensive player. Like, they don't feel like if they're behind in that series in a game by like 1 or 2 goals, like, I feel pretty confident in them. Washington, I feel kind of the same as far as like their offensive playmakers. Yeah, it's Ovi, Dylan Strome, but like outside of that, and even in that Montreal series, and I know we'll talk about it later, like the Caps haven't gotten a whole lot from like the PLDs and the Tom Wilsons that they got a lot more from during the regular season. It really has been a little top heavy for them. So my worry with the Hurricanes is more just like, okay, when you play against, because I think they're going to win this series. If you play against the Florida or a Leafs team that has a lot more firepower offensively, how does that go when like you're in a bit more of a track meet and the pace of play maybe is a little faster than you want it to be, and maybe you're down a couple goals because the stars on those teams have done a little more because they're better players, they're a little more creative, their style of play is maybe taking more chances than this sound game. Like, what happens then? And I think that's what's plagued them in the past a little bit, as far as like making it to the conference finals and getting swept twice against teams similar caliber to that. Like, the Hurricanes in the playoffs have historically played like the Islanders of the world, and like
that series was
that looked like
that looked like a hockey experiment. It was just like they
100%.
absorbed it just took it, and you were just like, this is hilarious. This felt almost more basketball-like, where it was so clear how two teams played, and you could watch it even as a neutral and completely understand what was happening,
100%.
and it just kept happening.
It just kept happening. And I'm not saying the Hurricanes can't beat like an offensively gifted team, the style of play that they are playing, because obviously defense is the priority and that, all that. But like, that's what I'm more interested to see, because I think they can handle Washington this way. I don't know if they can handle teams with a lot more firepower because of the lack of scoring I think that they still do have.
So I'm going to ask the question to Canes fans in the comments, as well as the two gentlemen in the room here as well. Obviously, they felt they had to move on from Rantanen because he wasn't going to sign.
Yeah.
So that's just a realistic part of that. This is going to make this question a bit absurd. But we're here to have fun and clown and ask podcast-like questions. So I am going to say this here. Would you kind of regret making that trade to some degree only when you're looking at Rantanen, who then joined the Stars, had a pretty slow start? People were starting to wondering, going like, damn, like, did he just kind of fit on Colorado? And, you know, would you think if you were a Canes fan, you'd look at them and like, maybe the same thing could have happened there in Carolina, where it was just a slow start to begin with, and now you'd be enjoying all of this playoff success, and all of it really is about just winning once, and you'd have him here now. Would you in any way feel regret about that whole sequence of things, even knowing that you're now kind of better, you know, for the future because of the trade that they made?
I'm trying to rank the losers of the Rantanen saga.
That'll be like
order.
Years from now.
And I can't decide if the Avs are one. The Avs have to be one.
Man.
And it's not at
The
their
Avs
fault.
are one.
You shipped them to Carolina
They're
with the
top
sole
two,
purpose.
and they're not two.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
they're
shipped them to
top two,
Carolina with the
they're
sole
top
purpose
two.
of like, we don't have to worry about this guy. Like, imagine hearing in September, oh, Mikko Rantanen's going to get a hat trick in a game 7. You're going to be watching the game,
no.
and it's going to be against you. You're going to be like, how is that even possible?
And then he's going to score a hat trick against the Jets.
Yeah, in the next round.
First game.
Like, you would have taken that.
Well,
the Jets part of it, yeah. The other part of it, no.
Yeah.
I absolutely ripped the Hurricanes on deadline day, and I think I was very harsh on them for how they managed and navigated this whole Mikko Rantanen situation. And I still, to a certain degree, while I've come to appreciate the return that they've got, and I've come to appreciate this no-lose situation that their front office was in, I heard their GM talk on a podcast about just how there was kind of no way out.
Wasn't this one.
No.
No, he wasn't on this one.
So-
Hey, if he wants to come in and talk about what food's good in the area, they're free to do that as well.
Like, I kind of respect that, hey, you were dealt a tough hand, although you put yourself in that hand. Like, you should have done the digging beforehand and been like, oh, there's no way he wants to stay here, so we don't want him, and just don't make that trade then, I guess.
Yeah.
But in the end, they got themselves a really nice return, and I think they actually made their team better in the long haul. That being said, when you don't have the best player, and you could have had Mikko Rantanen, who is just a perennial, like, stud in the playoffs, top 10 in points per game of all time, NHL history producer in the playoffs. Yeah, like, you regret it. You regret it. Even if it's 1 year, even if it's one series, even if it's one game, this is a player that you want on your team, and that's why I still can't fully forgive the Hurricanes for doing this, even though I think it was, like, somehow good business for value.
What do you think about it on the Colorado side here? Because obviously there was that, you know, post-season press conference with Joe Sakic, who, you know what, we do a lot of crediting for him, but obviously the quote that came out certainly has been circulating as far as we can't win with those three guys. What did you make of that? Not that, again, it's something to be clowned upon, but it certainly got people's ears up when he said that, because it's just like, you know, like, pretty good player you gave up there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Sakic's not the guy with the final say, or maybe he is now. He's not like the GM anymore. It's Chris McFarland. So like, I don't know how that tandem works now and who has more say, whatever. I still think Sakic probably has a big hand in it. I
highly doubt that he woke up and went, oh,
yeah, no,
he's gone?
I know that. But
what do you mean we can't win with three guys?
I think what he's saying about that is more just like and I think it worked to a degree and will help them in the future. But being so top heavy money wise is something the Avs have never had to actually go through. I think people make the comparison with the Leafs and Avs specifically with like, look, the Avs are doing it. Like, you can win with a lot of good players. And
There was a lot of that. Yeah.
But the problem was, like, with the comparison is that the Avs didn't have to pay them on the same timeline that the Leafs did.
No.
Like, when the Leafs were doing it, all those guys were under contract for all of that money already. They had dished it all out, and that's when the criticism started even more. With the Avs, it was like, they won a cup, and then McKinnon got paid. And then, like, Makar was already under contract, and he does not do a raise in a while. Rantanen wasn't due a raise until now. Like, they were able to find value in a lot of places and still build around their roster because those guys, contract-wise, it just all worked perfectly. And so this was the first time I think they were fully challenged with, okay, like, what's the future going to look like if we are paying all of these guys all of this money? Because it's not only Rantanen, like, Makar is right there after, and I think the Avs probably value having him more for the entirety of his career more than Rantanen at whatever number it was going to be. So I can understand it from a perspective. Obviously, I'd be lying if I said, like, yeah, that was obviously the right decision to make. Like, there's a big part of me that's like, that probably wasn't the right decision to make. But if you knew he was going to leave, then you had to do it.
All right, well, let's stay on the topic of Mikko Rantanen here. Back-to-back hat tricks, as we just mentioned. Fun numbers on it as well, just because like the time between all the hat tricks were pretty wild. The Game 7 hat trick was just 12 minutes and 8 seconds between the goals. And then the next game against the Jets there in Game 1, 7 minutes and 55 seconds. Yeah, like he just turned it on completely. And if he were on my team and suddenly he wasn't, I don't know how I'd feel, guys.
Guys, he's getting lucky too, man. Like, he
I don't know.
2 of the
I don't
3
know.
goals last night.
If we show the goals, what was our top goal of the year again? Zach McEwen for the point.
Yeah.
These might have toppled it.
You said 2 of the 3. I think 3 of the 3. Like, one was a
no,
spear that
They don't say
I
how.
was going to say 2 of the 3. He just
say how many.
They double shifted him on the 4th line, and of course he scores 2 of the 3 goals with 4th liners.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
a nice tip.
that's a little.
That's happening.
No, that's a little insane.
What
to
do you
say.
mean that's a little insane?
If you just play star players against fourth liners, just guaranteed goals
he
every
played
year.
on Dallas's 4th line.
I get what you're saying.
He's
but you're
raising
saying,
the
like,
level of
yeah.
players. It means he doesn't need Nate Dogg and Makar holding
No,
his
that's
hand.
not what that is. He got lucky as hell.
His second goal was a nice tip. That's a tough play to make.
Yeah,
And yeah,
fine.
sure, he's hot right now. That's going to go in. The third goal was...
You guys sound like haters.
He was passing the puck. I'm
Passing the puck.
right now. He was passing the puck on the third one, but
Shooting
it's a
percentage
play.
like 30.
And that's great.
If the third goal
good
didn't
number.
get tipped, it was an assist. It was a backdoor tap into Hines.
Yeah,
so
no,
it's
it's
like
fair.
he's
it's a
playing great
point
hockey right
He's
now.
playing great
Sure, yeah,
hockey.
things are going his way.
Mama, there goes.
Yeah, he's going, okay? I'm
This guy
upset
got
about it.
Steph Curry shooting numbers.
He does.
in
Gerard
the
off
NHL.
the skates, like... God damn, he's playing well.
But the Stars, they're looking great. They get Jason Robertson back, and at some point, they'll probably get Heiskanen back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't the wagon to pick at the start of this playoffs. They were in the middle of the year. They certainly were after they, got Rantanen. They were at the beginning of the year. How scary are they now? Just heading through there. And I get it. This series is far from over, and we don't even need Jesse in the room to say that. Like, this is going to be a well-fought series, and that was still a good game yesterday. But what are you guys making of the Dallas Stars?
They're so deep. Like it's hard to really point out a hole, and then you think that Robertson, like it was just his first game back yesterday. When he gets some more time under his boots, like he'll start to get better, more comfortable in there.
Is that a saying?
No, it's
Time
not.
under his
It's some
boots.
time under his boots.
It's completely not a thing.
Like
That-
time under his belt.
Yes.
Yeah,
it
but
is.
boots.
I don't like
or
that
skates,
thing either,
So,
quite frankly.
I thought I would put a hockey spin on it. Regardless, they're just
Boots? They don't wear boots.
Skates.
Boots.
People call skates boots.
Okay, that-
which I'm not into either.
I'm into the Dallas Stars, and I'm
into the
scared
Dallas.
of
I don't
this
mind
team
boots.
because Ottinger has been so good. Hayskanen's coming back soon. Thomas Harley has stepped up, and I mean we've talked to him before on this show, but with how good he's been, and then up front it's like pick your poison. Wyatt Johnston, 21 years old. The fact that he's scored in 3 Game 7s. That's another thing about the Stars. They're well positioned and they're so deep, but also they seem to come up in all these clutch moments. It's hard to believe that Ottinger was 0-8 or 0-7 in game ones,
right? Yeah.
And then game 7s, he's perfect.
Oh, he's
they just
amazing.
continue to rise to the occasion.
Wake me up when it matters.
Yeah.
Well, it matters now. They won a road home team loss, so it matters.
And that does.
I think Winnipeg's going to put up a good fight too, because they're also, I think, like they have some of their best hockey ahead of them. And Scott Arniel had a very interesting comment after the game last night, talking about how they looked like it was a game in the middle of December and they weren't ready to play a second round playoff series. Maybe that was just the emotions of getting over one of the most dramatic wins ever, and we've seen in a Game 7. So I think it'll be a good, hard-fought series. But Dallas, I would definitely lean their way at the moment.
I agree, like completely. I think that was one of Dallas's best games of the playoffs so far. Like from a chance perspective, from the Avs final numbers of that 7-game series was like heavily favored the Avs at 5-on-5 as far as like chances, high danger chances, whatever. Dallas looked how much?
I said this guy's pissed off.
I am pissed off.
Do you have a Rantanen jersey? No,
I don't have a Rantanen jersey. But
you don't buy jerseys.
No, not often. But they were the better team last night in that game 1, and that's with that Jason Robertson, Marchman, and Wyatt Johnston line looking like kind of crappy throughout the game. Like that line just didn't have it last night, and that's a scary proposition to me. Where you mentioned like Heiskanen's coming back, that line's going to get better. They can roll out anybody in any situation, and they are going to be good. And now they have this game-breaking forward that they didn't have in previous versions of this team that can score at will, apparently. So, like,
would you want
good luck, Winnipeg.
Would you want a game-breaking forward on your team?
No, you can't have 3 good players.
No, you
can't have 3 of them.
You can't have 3 of them.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
3 game-breaking players?
I wish you wouldn't have said that like that. You didn't have to say that, Joe.
Give me 4 Ross Coltons instead.
He didn't even play after game 1. He got hurt.
Give me Miles Wood.
Yeah.
We need Miles Wood.
That guy, they need to get his contract off the books.
Almost saved what he said. He was like, that guy.
They need to do some accounting with him.
They need to do some
funny accounting. All right, well, the Oilers, they have now won 5 straight, and all they got out of it was one of the worst puns we've ever made on that ticker.
This was not me.
It was me. Royal. Casino Royale.
I've actually never seen that movie.
It's supposed to be... I don't like that pun.
It's really bad.
I actually enjoy it. I enjoy a bad pun.
Kind of
I think you just...
If it's intentional.
You need a little more time under your boots before you get a little better.
Right under the boots. Mine are muddy when it comes to making puns. But when it comes to this series, the Oilers, we joked about it. They're the comeback kids. They got 5 comebacks in this playoff alone, which is... I think you were saying, because I mean, this was your graphic that you made up there. I didn't even realize this. It's the most in NHL history.
The most consecutive.
Oh, consecutive.
Wins from behind.
Okay.
It's just more fitting that like these are their first 5 wins in the playoffs, and they've been trailing in all of them.
Because they were kind of dead to rights as far as a lot of people were kind of concerned, or at the very least, I think we were giving credit to the Kings, saying, man, this Kings team is different. This Oilers team, injuries at the wrong time, and maybe they're finally going to get past them, LA. It's not at all what's happened, and now here we are talking about the Oilers, and it feels very much so that they got a real strong chance advancing to the Western Conference Finals. But what do you guys think about them?
Just like flip a coin and let's see what Oilers team comes out, because that Vegas game starts off. And, the goals were a little weak if you want to blame goaltending, but it also just felt like, let's just let them walk right in. Let's let Vegas kind of have their way. And then they come on the second period, the shots are like 14-1, and Edmonton's taking it to Vegas.
Dominated.
And it's not just, and this was my big thing when they were down 2-0 to the Kings. I was banging the table saying, please, someone that's not McDavid and Draisaitl, let's step up. Those guys are stepping up. Connor Brown, 4 goals in 7 games, leads the team in scoring, tied for the
Erie
lead.
Otters legend.
Yes, big point producer there as well.
I got a couple of Erie Otters legends.
It's just, who's the other guy?
McDavid.
I know. It's just like...
Was that a real question?
No. It's great to see...
That was a real question.
Their bottom 6 performing and coming up big for them. And yes, we know Draisaitl and McDavid are great and they're going to get their goals, but it's going to need more than that. And then also they just need timely goaltending, because like Calvin Pickard, he is what he is. If he can step up for them, great. But I feel like in a lot of situations, they're going to need to score their way to victory. Them versus the Canes would be... Are you guys, like, smiling because I had a tough time saying Calvin Pickard?
No, we're just smiling because, like, you know, you said the name correctly and we're proud of you.
Oh, thanks, guys.
'Cause
I call him
parents.
Picard.
Yeah, because he really wants to say Picard.
What I want is to see the Oilers continue to succeed. They've looked really good,
Yep.
and it's an unexpected way that they've looked good against adversity, playing from behind, bottom six contributing, and I think you should just be over the moon right now if you're an Oilers fan.
It really does feel like the only thing holding this team back is goaltending. Like, if they're going to get the 4 worst Pickard games of his life in the next 4, like, they could lose this series in 5. But if he gives them a relatively solid chance where he's allowing 2 to 3 goals a game, it feels like the Oilers are going to make it to the Stanley Cup final. Like, that's how good I feel about what they've got going on offense right now, because that McDavid, it's so funny that it's like McDavid, Draisaitl, and Corey Perry's the key ingredient on that line.
Corey Perry is,
And
I
then-
know he's older, but he's
No,
like, this is a
I
guy who
know.
scored 50 goals in the NHL.
I
Like,
know, but he's like,
he definitely has the IQ and the level of
Yeah,
like spatial awareness to play with the 2 best
You
players.
want to
in
talk
the
about
NHL.
boots, though. Those boots have been in the mud for a little while. And they are a little slow in the,
got a
long
lot
in the tooth. I don't know what
Got a lot of clock under those
got a lot of
boots.
clock
What'd you
under
say?
those boots. That's a good way to put it. But him being on that first line, and then the second line now of Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, and Kane has been great. And then you go even deeper where it's Connor Brown and Adam Henrique and like Trent Frederick, and now this is all working. Like, in all these trade deadline acquisitions that we all were 2 weeks ago, like, they didn't do enough and they're stupid for not doing enough. And now it's just like, it's all working. It just took 2 games for them to figure out how this works, and they've won 5 in a row and have been decidedly the better team in all 5 of those games.
It's way too early to be asking this kind of question. That's why I'm asking it here.
Hell
We
yeah.
have the most fun with these types of ludicrous questions. Who's your Cup favorite right now? From everything you've watched so far. Super
that is a tough
early
question.
into round 2. You don't even have to go with just the teams that have won. You know, you can pick someone who you think is going to bounce back.
I
I think the Cup's going to come from the West.
I think
I think
so.
when I watch those games, they're just played at a higher level. They seem to be at a faster pace, but they're also physical, and the talent is there too, like the top level players.
seem more complete.
But those 4 teams are all really good. It's tough for me to pick. I love Edmonton just because I always root for McDavid. I will never doubt him to kind of put the team on his back and go on a crazy run. But I think Dallas is just the most complete team in the NHL right now, and they're getting top level production from a superstar. So it's hard for me to not say them at this moment in time.
I think Dallas for me as well. And honestly, if I'm talking an East team, like, if the Leafs weren't up 2-0, I wouldn't say them. But like, you got 2 more wins to make it to the conference final. I've always felt like once they make it to that 3rd round, like, they're just gonna somehow find a way to make it to the.
You're saying that with the Leafs.
Yeah,
Discounting the Hurricanes. That's what I think.
I'm probably discounting the Hurricanes.
Since we're making
And the Capitals.
I was gonna say, since we're making the rounds on teams that we've already kind of discussed a little before, we didn't chat Capitals a little bit, and I realized you actually had a nice graphic that was quite positive on them there. The goals save above expected there. Logan Thompson,
Yeah,
leading the way in that
he's been
one.
great.
Is that the best goalie? I mean, by numbers alone, he's been the best goalie in the playoffs thus far. But how much of a game breaker do you think that is for the Capitals?
First of all-
because we all already picked the Canes to move on, seemingly, but does this not seem a bit premature with what we're looking at?
I think that series picking a winner after 1 game is like very, very premature. As much as I like what the Canes are doing, it seems like throughout the entire playoffs, everyone's forgotten that the Capitals had the most points in the East this year. Everyone loves them for the Ovi story, but it feels like after that, everyone's just forgotten about what a good team this is. And sure, they played Montreal in the first round, and Montreal was kind of pesky and hung in there, and maybe that weakened how we all see the Capitals. But I do think they're a good team. The fact that Logan Thompson is even playing right now after when he got hurt in Game 3, the way he went off that ice and the collision that he experienced, I thought he was potentially going to be like done for the rest of the playoffs. He was back the next game. So it's great when you have a goalie like that. With him and net, their record this year has been incredible. But I do like the Capitals. I think they can play in low-scoring games. I think they can play in games where the goal tally gets up there. But he's been great, and he catches with his right, which you love to point out.
They got 2 lefties.
Yes.
They got 2 lefties as their goalies. I wonder if that's happened before. Anyway, it's a good one to crowdsource out there.
Yeah.
We could also just look it up, but one of you might already know that. You ever seen a team with 2 lefties? Who backed up Rick DiPietro? Here's a good trivia question right there. There's no way anyone has the answer. Garth Snow? I think he did actually at one point.
I don't even know who that is.
Anyways,
Dude.
Trying to think about other Islanders goalies that I knew growing up. And
I think it was. But
Rick DiPietro.
let's talk about. I mean, we have Mammoth Surprise down on the ticker. I just realized I don't even know if we have a picture of these. Did you put that in?
no, I didn't. No, that's my fault.
Are we doing most important player?
Most important. Oh yeah, that was the whole point of this podcast. I just realized. I've been asked that once. Yes, we are doing that. It's an interesting time to go back to it. Okay, so there's only 4 series going on right now, but I want you guys to pick a most important player for each team in the series. But, I don't want you to just list star players. It's someone who maybe there's an area of weakness where the team really needs someone to kind of step up, or perhaps it's just a secondary or tertiary figure where you think they're really going to be the deciding factor in this. So let's quickly go back through it here. Let's go back to Panthers and Leafs. Panthers, who do you got?
I got Seth Jones. And I know Aaron Ekblad was suspended for game 1, so a lot of the kind of heavy lifting was done on him. But I watched this guy, and there's one shift where I'm like, man, I see why he was such a highly touted prospect and a 4th overall draft pick. And then the next shift I watch, and it's like, oh, I see why people were complaining about the contract that he had in Chicago. I just think that if they are going to go on a similar run that they have the last 2 years, they're going to need a little bit more from their blue line. They obviously don't have Brandon Montour anymore, so I think that's a big loss. And I just think that Seth Jones just needs to be at his best, because that could be a huge boost, because they're already so strong up front and they play so physically. I think just from the back end they need a little bit more.
Okay. Luca, why don't you go Leafs?
Okay. I'll go for Leafs. Oh, sorry. I was ready to go.
You already ready to go Panthers?
I was ready to go
Someone
Panthers.
There? We can
Yeah.
go Panthers if you
I
want
just
to. You
wanted
got
to
one.
and I know you said no superstars, but I think this one applies
Yeah, break the rule.
a little bit. Yeah, Matthew Tkachuk. He's just been really quiet through 2 games this series and through the playoffs specifically. Like, he has 5 of his 6 points on the power play, 1 even strength point. If the Leafs are going to match up their 4th line against his line, which I think that's a matchup the Panthers will take all day, he needs to feast more and produce more than he has, because that's just not going to cut it, especially playing against the Leafs 4th line that he has won the matchup, but not on the scoreboard in those minutes. Like, they have caved the ice his way. So
Brady Tkachuk would never.
Tkachuk would never. He produced. He produced.
Yep. But for the Leafs, yeah.
For the Leafs, for me, William Nylander is their most important player right now. Like, that Matthews, Marner, Nyes line is going to be matched up with Barkov a lot, and so him as a playoff performer, I think maybe in the first round didn't have as much going on through like the first 4 games, but then towards the tail end to close it out against Ottawa, he was brilliant, and then he has carried that over so far. But he has been their most consistent, I think, playoff performer in this iteration of this team. And so, yes, it's nice that like Matthews, Marner are playing well, but I think he truly is the most important game-breaking player, because he's not going to be matched up in those tough minutes. And if you can take advantage of those other minutes, like, the Leafs are going to be good if he keeps playing like this.
All right, and let's move on to the Metro there. The Capitals and the Canes. Logan Thompson's name might have been a better fit here. Had I have remembered that, I forgot our entire podcast topic until Luca just mentioned it halfway through. But Capitals.
I'm actually going to go with a forward here. Connor McMichael. He scored some, I guess clutch could be the word, goals against the Habs, but they were kind of those like dirty playoff goals that everyone loves to praise players for. But like, this was
you didn't praise Rantanen for any of his, so
that was him.
He doesn't deserve praise for those ugly goals.
Love Mikko Rantanen.
I do too.
Connor McMichael was a high draft pick, and up until this year, he didn't really showcase some elite offensive talent, and this year he had a much better season. But in the playoffs, he's really, really embraced that sort of like pesky, I hate that I'm playing against this guy over a 7-game series, but if I'm a Caps fan, I love to have him. And I just think against a team like Carolina that's going to play so tight defensively, you really, really need those guys to step up, especially when goals are hard to come by. And you talked about how they really have only gotten goals from, Strome and Ovi were great against the Habs, but that secondary scoring hasn't always been there. I think he's going to need to continue to put the puck in the net, especially with a lot of timely goals. Against the Habs, there were times where the Habs scored and the Caps answered right away. And a couple times it was McMichael. So he's kind of my key right now for the Caps.
Luca, who you got for Carolina?
I got Andrei Svechnikov for Carolina. 5 goals so far this playoff run in 6 games. That top line with him, Aho, has been just electric. And I think Canes fans have kind of been looking at Svechnikov as like, yeah, this guy is one of the best young goal scorers in hockey.
He's getting choked up about it.
Loves Svechnikov.
I love seeing it, but
not that into
he has not produced that way in the playoffs yet. And I think this has a chance to be a really special run for the Hurricanes. We talked about goal scoring and game-breaking goal scoring. If Svechnikov can keep this kind of pace, like, that goal scoring is going to be the most important, because after him, I look at this roster and I'm like, I don't know where goal scoring is going to come from consistently. He is billed up as that guy. He needs to continue to be that guy.
All right, Jets, Stars. I think we've made enough points about Mikko Rantanen in this one.
I got a different one.
Okay, go ahead.
Jason Robertson. I think it's Jason Robertson for me, because Rantanen has done all the heavy lifting right now, especially at even strength. He's got 6 goals in beautiful fashion. He's got 6 goals at even strength. Jason Robertson led this team in even strength goals this regular season with 26. So I think that the Stars have been amazing on the power play. They scored again on the power play in Game 1 against the Jets. I think that if they're going to make a deep run, the scoring is going to need to be as balanced as their lineup is. And I don't think it was particularly in the first round series. I think that has a chance to even out a little more, and Robertson's scoring will be key to that. And especially for him to get Wyatt Johnston going if he's playing on that line, because Wyatt's been a little quiet too. He's had some moments in that Colorado series, especially, again, on the power play, but like most of the game is played at 5-on-5, and I think Dallas has 4 lines that they can do that with. He's going to be really key to that.
We're going to have to channel the spirit of Jesse since he's not in this room here. But for the Jets, who do you have?
Well, I can never match his energy and enthusiasm, but I will say my answer has a lot of Jesse influence in it, because he's talked up this guy with how important of a player he is. And I think the easy answer could be Connor Hellebuyck, because, of course, with how volatile he's been in the playoffs, like, they're going to go as far as his performances kind of take him. But the one guy I want to highlight is Gabe Vilardi. And they missed him a lot in round 1, and it showed. But he is just such an important ingredient to what this team does best. He's a big physical player, but also I think he's very skilled and very underrated. And he's a big key to their power play. And this is a power play that was just so good throughout the regular season. So Gabe Vilardi's the guy for me. He's back healthy now and playing on that top line with Scheifele and Connor. And I think that line's going to need to match the pace that, like, Rantanen's already dictated, like, okay, this is how this series is going to go. I'm going to score a tip, a spear, and a pass off a skate every single game. Winnipeg, your top line's got to answer that. And I think Gabe Vilardi is kind of the key. If they can get him going, things will sort of tilt their way.
Second matchup in the West there, Oilers and Knights. The Oilers, there's so many choices, obviously, that we could make in this one. But, Luca, what's the one you're going with?
It's a guy that Pac mentioned before, Connor Brown. He's been so good, and I know it's a third-line player, but they have trusted that line in a lot of good situations as far as, like, Henrique, him, and Trent Frederick. It's a nice little shutdown line and a nice line to kind of tip the ice. And if Connor Brown is scoring at this pace, like, any Stanley Cup team will take that. So, importance, I know it's not just about production, because I don't expect this production to continue from him, but he's a really solid player. He's responsible defensively. He's good in the offensive end of the ice. And the amount of time they've relied on that line at 5-on-5 so far has been interesting to see. And so I just think he's going to have a big impact going forward.
All right. Finally, our last team here, Thomas, the Vegas Golden Knights. Who's going to be most important?
I'm going to go with a player that scored 35 goals in the regular season, and no one
Victor Olofsson
to talk enough about him. Not him.
Was it him?
It's Pavel Dorofeyev, and he actually missed Game 1 against the Oilers, but yeah, it just seemed like someone that really flew under the radar this season.
When you said that, I hadn't realized that. I was like, dang.
35 goal scorer, not like, just did not get enough attention for that. But with Vegas, we look back at their short history as an organization, but there's so many memories of these, like, the Misfits are a great choice, where they just score these timely goals, step up in the playoffs. And a guy like Dorofeyev is now in that position where he's a guy that they should be relying on. he had a tough first round, really didn't get it going, and now he's injured. So I think if they want to get back on track and win the series against a tough Edmonton team, they're going to need him to start putting the puck in the back of the net, and hopefully he's back for game 2. The injury is undisclosed, so we don't really know, but it sounds like he shouldn't be out that long.
Well, this brings us back to the topic that spurred all of this wonderful discussion. Mammoth. As in a mammoth error on my part that we were just coasting. And I was like, damn, this is a fast podcast. It's like, oh, because we didn't do the other half of it. So, Luca, thank you again.
I got you.
I'm not a morning person. Again, this is more proof to you guys. This is a real live thing that we're, sorry, not
BarDown. Because it's dawn.
I thought I had the worst pun today.
We ride at dawn.
We ride at dawn. But yeah, this is a real thing that's happening in the morning. Not a morning person. But hey, we got there.
We got there.
Let's talk about the Utah Mammoths. First off, they were clearly blocked from having the name that sounded best, Utah Yeti. That's just a lot more appealing, but that's okay. All right, we've moved past that because you got to pick something. I'm going to start off our discussion here as we look at these jerseys together, just with a simple thing. Should they have just kept Hockey Club?
No.
No.
This is not the Premier League, man.
They shouldn't have kept Hockey Club.
This is an American sports franchise. You need cool, flashy branding.
Just the badge.
That a kid is going to look at when he's looking at a row of 32 different hats and say, I like that one. Those colors look cool. That logo speaks to me. And 15 years later, when they haven't won a playoff series, and I'm going to say, yeah, that's why I'm a fan of this team. Not saying that's happened. It's going to happen to Utah, but that is a story you hear from a lot of kids.
That was the most directed shot.
No, but have you not met someone before where you're like, why do you cheer for blank team?
I thought, he didn't even mean it intentional.
No, and it's just like...
I thought you were talking about the Sabres. I was like... I went.
Oh no!
That's what I thought you were saying.
Because you were talking about Utah and predicting they're not going to make the playoffs for the next 15 years.
No, honestly, this is more like Miami Dolphins trauma because I know Dolphins fans. It's like, why do you like the Dolphins? And they're like, oh, I liked the color teal when I was 6, and now I haven't seen a playoff win in 25 years. So that's kind of where that was coming from. But I love the logo.
Trauma.
I like how the jerseys are kind of similar to what they rocked with last year and the colors, which we knew.
Yeah.
But I think the logo works great. The colors work great. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of a sucker for like these new flashy they're not an expansion team, but just rebrands. I loved the Kraken. Gold Knights I thought was cool as well. But to me, this is like a slam dunk.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I don't think, speaking of expansion, just new teams, period, as you said, not directly an expansion. But I like it. I like that the mountains are there and the Mammoth's head. And the fact that they had to kind of pivot does make me curious of what was in the works for the other one.
Yeah,
definitely would like to see that still. I know eventually we probably will, maybe 15, 20 years, maybe 15.
When they haven't made the playoffs.
No, this is not a shot at Utah.
What is going on?
You guys know I love Clayton Keller.
It's true.
Like,
true. No one rates him quite like
Team of the year?
Don't get him on the Avs. Too many game breakers.
He's making too much. Okay?
Yeah, it's too much.
Can't win like
it's too
that.
much. But I love their color set. I think it's great. I think the home jerseys is like. It's a little more plain than I would like, but as I was saying, I think of all the new teams, it's probably third. Like I really do like the Golden Knights one a lot. I think like they have a very distinct.
That's
look.
fun for you.
No, it's Kraken.
Oh, the Kraken was
Kraken's one.
I was going up the list.
Yeah.
I think Kraken was just like whoa when they had the video that went with it, the logo.
Yeah.
We were all in right away, and
all matched.
That's not to say this is bad or anything. And honestly, I don't know why I ranked them. It was just rude to people who cheer for Utah because these are kind of cool. I like the side patches too.
Yeah. Side patches are nice.
I'm all in. Like I think I've said this before when we did our surprise for every single team, and my surprise was just about like how my perception of this franchise has changed so quickly because when they were in Arizona, you just could not get me to be interested in the team.
They had cool logos.
They did. Pacino was cool, but I don't know. It's just the direction, the location, the feeling I had about how confident I was that this team could go on to be a
It was
playoff
everything
contender.
but the logos with that team, to be honest. Their logos would have kept them in there. We all, I think
I don't know. I'm all in on
this season.
on
They
them,
probably
yeah.
deserved a better fate too. Like they could have easily made one of those wild card spots, and they just didn't. And I think they'll probably be primed for one next year.
All right. Well, we're going to stop recording because that means that we're going to get the video up to you guys because that's right. We recorded on the same day. and it's out. This feels so self-congratulatory, I know, to anyone listening to this. But the thing is, I don't think you quite get. Usually someone just stays up till like 4 a.m. slapping stuff onto this video so that it can come out in the morning. And now we've actually kind of figured out where we can do these a little bit more routinely and a little bit cleaner. So it's a victory we'd like to share with you, the audience. And if you liked what you watched today, why not give the video a like? And of course, subscribe to the BarDown channel and all those other nice things. We thank you for giving us your time. And we thank Colorado for giving us one of their star players. So, yeah. Star
Guys,
players.
I could talk for like 40 minutes on the Avs. I'm just so sad.
Sorry.